Um, Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. I get the pleasure of calling this meeting to order in my new role. So, um, uh, thanks. Debbie, we talked a little bit about some announcements. So, a couple of things we want to remind people of. There's a survey that Debbie sent out a while back that just solicits some input from members. So try to track that down.
I'll resend it today.
Okay. The other announcement we wanted to cover, Debbie?
We also have, well, two announcements really. We have another, that same email we sent out a Google Doc for people to sign up for programs and for being sergeant. So take a look at that document. We've got July covered, but we need to get the year covered. I'm sure Andrew would really appreciate having that, not having to chase that down so much. And Jim Campbell also mentioned that he posted this really great article about Brad Peck, and it's posted to our own Facebook page. So please take a look at that. It's really a great article about his retirement and so on.
It's also on our website.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully everybody's had a chance to see that. Do we have any guests with us? I'm looking at, again, I got to scroll through my iPad here. Do we have any guests we want to announce or anything like that? Or is it all our one big happy family here? Looks like it's one big happy family. Okay. July birthdays, I think that's on my list of things to identify in this first meeting of the month. Mary Beth Moberg has a July birthday. I don't see Mary Beth on here. And then some other knucklehead that has a July birthday. So we can avoid the singing, but Debbie, is Mary Beth's birthday on the 19th as well?
Both of you the same day, yep.
Same day. Well, there you go.
Wow.
Good day. Well, again, thanks everybody for taking the time. I'm told this is a club assembly, which means I get to make some remarks, and you guys gotta listen to me as a captive audience. That's right up my alley. So I'll just say a few things, and hopefully at the end we can open it up and question and answer and discussion. Much more exciting. So. First thing I wanted to do is say some thank yous, and one was to Sean Wright, who's not on today, but I think he deserves a real round of virtual applause or whatever we can do with Zoom. I thought he did a great job leading us through a tumultuous year of Rotary as we switched locations and went to virtual meetings and all that sort of thing. It wasn't a surprise to me. I think he does a great job with his day job leading the Grant Theater. So certainly pass along our thanks to Sean when we see him. Second thank you for me is Kelly. Maybe you haven't noticed yet, but Kelly Fisher has taken on the role of president-elect. And that's an important role in any year. It's particularly important in this year because I need all the help I can get. So, Kelly, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to be leaning on you a lot through the course of the year. Next up is Deb. Same thing with Deb. She does all kinds of work for the club, and I think sometimes stuff just happens, and usually it's because of Deb. So, thanks, Deb, for all of your efforts, and I'm sure I'll be leaning on you as well. And then the last group is really all of you. I appreciate the confidence you've put in me to lead the club this year. This is really your club, and my view is, we all need to work together to make this club the best it can be. My view on the role of leadership is as much of a facilitator as anything else. So certainly my virtual door is always open. My email is available. My phone is available. And I've already reached out to a number of you. just to solicit some ideas and input. I plan on continuing to do that. If I haven't gotten to you yet, that just means I've run out of time. So you will be, you're on the list. So
Matt?
please go ahead.
Excuse me, I just got a note from one of the members. Could you turn the chat feature on, please?
Sure. Although I don't control this, so I will have to, I'll have to send a note.
Okay.
Hopefully he's paying attention. I'll send a note to turn it on. You know, if they let the
Sorry.
lawyers run the technology, it would be a problem. So
Sorry to interrupt you.
bear with me. Let me send a note here. All right, we'll see if that works. Hopefully. I'll try and get that solved for next week. The other thing that Dennis Tan sent me a note about was recording the meeting. I'm trying to get that solved too. But so in any event, I've reached out to a number of you. I haven't been able to reach out to everybody yet, but I plan on doing that and just kind of soliciting ideas. So if please don't hesitate to reach out if you want to take the initiative. If you've got something on your mind, I'm on all ears. So with that, I'll kind of shift to a little bit about the upcoming year and kind of the things I'm thinking about. And I'll start by asking a question. People of action. Does anybody know what the reference is there? People of action.
It's a Rotary group.
John, you're brilliant. It's a Rotary group. Maybe I'll say this. It's a branding effort by Rotary International that you know is trying to invigorate the brand. I guess expand the reach of the brand. Now I'm really going to try something creative. I'm going to play a quick video and see if this works. Hang on.
Gee, I want to watch the What is Rotary, funny Rotary video from Fargo Moorhead.
Yeah, right. Are you seeing the screen?
I'm seeing
Yeah,
the
but it's
screen.
black.
We are seeing it, but it's black. Yeah.
It's black.
It's not playing. We're on the YouTube page, but the video's not playing.
Huh. All right.
Oh, looks like it's trying.
Matt, you're really pushing your technological boundaries here.
I am. I'm going to give up if it's not. You're still seeing black?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, best laid plans.
Send me
I'll come back.
the link and I'll send it to everybody.
I can try again another time or send it out or something. But it was a video that I saw at the PETS conference in Chicago right before the pandemic hit that I thought did a nice job of identifying that people of action idea that Rotary's been trying to promote, and that is, as Rotarians, we're people of action. So that's one of the things I think we can focus on and keep at the front of our minds, that that's what this club is all about. You know, the way they continue that theme is with their 5-year plan. And there are 4 elements to Rotary's 5-year plan that I thought I'd touch on each of those and how it affects our club individually. The 4 elements of Rotary's action plan for the next 5 years are increasing our impact, expanding our reach, enhancing participant engagement, and increasing our ability to adapt. So I'll touch on each of those briefly. Increasing our impact. As Rotarians, we're known as effective problem solvers. And I think what Rotary International is trying to encourage us to do, and what we should think about as a club, is trying to seek out new ways to make a difference. I think we've done that to some degree recently with our joint effort with the Early Birds Club. That was a quick project that came together in a virtual environment. John really took the laboring oar on leading that. And I think it allowed us to access district funds, which we hadn't done in a while as a club. And I think those kinds of activities, I think, are the kinds of things we should be looking to do. There are dollars available at the district level that I think can allow us to make a difference and increase our impact. Expanding our reach. That's the second one. Now, when a lot of you hear that, I suspect that the first thing that goes through your mind is we need to attract more members. I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. I'm not going to chase members. I think for some of us who have been around a while, the club used to be 75, 80 members, and we'd get a pretty good number of them at lunch on a weekly basis. I will tell you that we are down to under 40 members as we sit here right now, probably around 35, give or take. My view is that is what it is. Society's changed a lot. There's a little bit of an uphill battle that we're fighting on that front. I think our club has changed. I think the dynamics of the people involved in our club has changed dramatically. So certainly everyone should have on their mind, prospective members, and we should all be thinking about it regularly and trying to attract members. But my view is, if we're an engaged club and we enjoy what we're doing, the membership issue will take care of itself. So my goal is, I don't care how many members we are. If it's 35, we're going to be the best 35 member club that we can be. And so my view on expanding our reach really doesn't have a lot to do with number of members. The way I think we can expand our reach is getting involved and getting engaged with other groups and other elements of Rotary. So let me give you some examples. John, who's on this call, is and has been involved at the district level as the Global Grant Scholarship and Peace Fellowship Chair. John, I think I've got that title correct. That's a mouthful, but you've been very involved, and I think as a consequence, we've got an in at the district level that is helpful to us and can be helpful to us if we allow it to be. A more recent development is that Dennis Tan, who can't be on this call, but he has agreed to take on the role of public image chair at the district level. So our 35, 40 member club has 2 chairs of district level committees. I think that's something to be proud of, and something that we can really use to our advantage as we continue to stay involved. So thank you, John, for your efforts, and thanks to Dennis. Please pass that along as people see him. So the other thing I'll talk about in terms of expanding our reach is, again, I think that model of working with other groups and organizations, whether it's the Early Birds as an example, or maybe it's something outside of Rotary. I think Rotary International is seeing that is important and helpful to the cause, and I certainly agree with that assessment. I think, the Early Birds Club, we know all those folks. Many of them used to be members of our club. Dave Anderson, who's got my role for the early birds, has expressed an interest and willingness to work together on projects. So I'm going to be looking for those opportunities as much as possible. You know, if nothing else, it spreads the burden a little bit, and it allows more people to get involved, and I think that just builds on itself in terms of club engagement. So the third item on the 5-year plan, action plan for Rotary, is enhanced participant engagement. Some of the things we've talked about, I think, lead to that. But the idea is to recommit to putting the needs and expectations and growth of our participants at the center of what we do. The club level, I think that's us. You know, what do we want our club to be? How do we want it to look? How do we want it to behave? What things do we want it to accomplish? We're not going to get 100% consensus around that. We shouldn't try. Hopefully we can get, you know, pretty good consensus, and we can find some things, some opportunities where, you know, generally speaking, most people are on board and willing to participate. There's some geeky stuff that I'll throw out there for me that I'm thinking about. I've talked to a few of you about this, but I think we need to modernize our bylaws. You know, our bylaws were done a number of years ago by a group, you know, when we were 75 or 80 members. You know, we were at a board meeting a couple months ago or a month and a half ago, and you know, we were trying to fill 16 slots or 15 slots or some ungodly number on the board. We only have 35 people, and not all of those are able to make it every time. So I raised the question of, you know, why do we need 15 people on a board when we're 35 members? That doesn't make sense. So my view is you need a board, but we're gonna try to streamline a lot of these roles. And quite frankly, at this stage, I think the 20 or so people that are on this call can serve. You know, we can have a lot of conversation at the club level as opposed to the board level. So you'll probably see that happening more this year than we have, at least in the recent past. I think that's going to help our member engagement as much as anything. The other thing I'm trying to figure out how to accomplish, particularly in the present environment, is more social activities. We need to have more fun, and you know, I'm open to ideas as to how to achieve that. You know, I've thought about things like rotating meetings at people's homes. So if people are up for that, I think that would be, I think that'd be an interesting experiment. I'm certainly willing to host one at my home, and you know, I'm a little hesitant to go down too far that path right now, but over time, maybe as people are, you know, as if this pandemic lets up a little bit, maybe we can do some of those things. So again, I'm open to ideas on that front, but I think we want to look for more opportunities for just not the formality that we've historically had at our noon meetings, and just get together and get to know each other a little better. So those, in my view, are a couple of ways we can enhance participant engagement. I'm open to other ideas as well. The last piece of the 5-year plan for Rotary is increasing our ability to adapt. We've already shown a pretty good ability to adapt, in my view. I mean, we're sitting here on a Zoom call, having our meeting. But the thought is, as people of action, we need to be inventive, entrepreneurial, and resilient. You know, this club's been around for over 100 years. So I think it's shown an ability to be resilient over those 100 years. I think the inventive and entrepreneurial is a constant, those elements are a constant challenge. I think we need to think differently because our club looks different than it used to. We're looking at each other on a video screen instead of meeting, at some location over lunch. I'll get into a little bit of the weeds here briefly. We talked a little bit, I think, last year at various times about the financial challenge that the club has. If we just went back to what we normally did, which is lunch every week on Mondays, we would lose we'd spend about $11,000 more than we bring in. That's our first cut at our budget for this year. That's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. We're not having lunch today, for example, so we're already making some up. And I don't think the answer is just raising dues either. I hope nobody's bailing off this phone call right now. But I do think we've got to think differently. I think this club is going to look different. And it has to look different just by virtue of the fact that, with 35 members, we can't do the same kinds of things that we've always done at the same cost level. So we'll work on that. We'll figure it out. I'm not panicking. I think we can solve this pretty easily. But you as club members should understand what the situation really is. So hopefully, if you have ideas, you'll share them. And again, I don't think we're going to get 100% consensus on how this is going to look going forward, but we can try to get close. Well, I don't want to leave things on a sour note. The club has over 100 years of history and tradition, and I take that very seriously. That means a lot to me. We've done a lot of really great things as a club over those years, and I really see that continuing in the years to come. As people of action, we get things done. So I'm not worried. I'm optimistic. I think we're going to do great things this year and in the coming years, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you in that endeavor. So thanks again for your support. Look forward to the coming year, and I'll shut up now, thankfully, and hopefully open it up to questions or discussion, or we can talk about the weather, whatever you'd like.
Just quickly, we have a lovely plaque and new badge and everything for Sean. And did you get it already? Oh, you did pick it up. Great.
Oh, there he is. All right.
Your past president's pin is on back order, so that'll be coming yet.
I hadn't intended to go into the office, but then, I got an email saying, Debbie has left gifts in the office. And I'm like, wait a minute, I think I know what that is. I didn't want to, since you put forth the effort, thank you.
Well, Sean, I think you missed the introductory comments. You are owed a debt of gratitude from all of us. Thank you for your efforts over the past year. You did a wonderful job in a time of turmoil. So.
Thank you. And the best part was, the year is over, and so it was nice to be here 10 minutes late, and nobody was the wiser. It's perfect. The club will
Weird way
go
to
on.
pass the gavel, but
Exactly.
Virtual gavel. Any other questions or comments or thoughts from club members?
Well, I've always got something to say, and so let me just say thanks to Sean. I mean, it was a, hey, what a year, right? But thank you for navigating so many different kinds of things, and Deb as well, a big part of that. I guess I'd just say thanks, Matt. I mean, I think you put a lot of things out on the table that I think a lot of us have sort of, been kind of noodling here and there, and I just, what, you can't solve things unless they're kind of out there and we're all sort of, rowing in the same direction. And so I appreciate your candor, your willingness to sort of talk through that. I guess, sort of a specific question, related to, well, service and what is kind of the coming year. I mean, you talked a bit about sort of working with maybe, some, other groups or, early birds or what have you. What does service look like? The approach to that in the coming year? Obviously, we've got Reindeer Run, but other kinds of things. What are you sort of thinking in that respect?
Yeah, I can try to answer that, Mike, and thanks. First, you will find one thing about me, for better or for worse, is I don't beat around the bush too much. I kind of call it like I see it. So I'm gonna tell the truth. I think that's the way I approach things, and usually it works for me. Not always, but in terms of service, I don't have any specific projects in mind by any means. I have some ideas of things I think could work that are kind of in the back of my mind. I think that, again, I think one of our challenges has been getting engagement from members to get involved in those service projects. So my view is, okay, well, don't fight that. Let's try to make it more, let's try to work in other ways to get more people. So if it's piggybacking on an early birds project, for example, that's one idea I've had. If it's, piggybacking on another organization, I think the more people we can have involved, the more it sort of builds on itself and snowballs. So again, I don't have specific projects in mind right now. I think we have to be open to ideas. I like how the project that we did recently, led by John from our club, came together quickly. We saw a need, we identified it, we got it done relatively quickly and relatively efficiently. Those are the kinds of things. It's not a lot of money, but, between the two clubs, it was $3,000 or something like that. I think those are the kinds of things that we can build on. Patrick's efforts around hunger have always been, I thought, well done, and that's if our club has a niche, that may be it right now. And so I think there are things we could build on around that hunger theme, for example, that I think could constitute service projects. I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that everybody's busy, whether you have a day job or you used to have a day job and now you're retired, like Kathy, or soon to be like Kathy, excuse me. Kathy's probably busier now than she's ever been. But we have to be cognizant of people's time, and there's only so much to go around. So I don't have specific ideas is a short answer, Mike. I'm open to suggestions at any time. But I've got kind of structures around where I think we could take this in terms of service. I think service is a big part of what is going to make us an engaged club and attract and retain members, quite frankly. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but I gave it a shot. So. Somebody else? Other questions?
Hey, Matt, this is John.
Hey, John.
I can't help but wonder, about some of our colleagues who have yet either struggled with or haven't been able to adapt to the Zoom technology, who are longstanding members of the club. I'm thinking of Kirk Howard or Gene Tehan and some other members who we miss. John Eldred, I think, probably also has difficulty dealing with this stuff. But somehow, as long as we're continuing to engage this way, it'd be great to figure out a way we can bring them in connection with each other, because whether it's just this kind of a forum with the programs, which I think we can be innovative about. That at least would mean trying to get them somehow reached out and connect with them. I can only imagine that they feel distant from the organization, but it'd be nice to somehow see them be contacted and approached as to how we can continue to engage them while we're still in this virtual environment.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, John, and maybe I can prioritize some of those folks as I continue to reach out to individual club members. You know, it's ironic. I thought of John Eldred this morning as I was putting together my notes. I said, "Oh, now do I need to figure out a way to do an invocation?" Is John, because John's been the fallback invocation guy forever. So it occurred to me at that point in time. I said, "Boy, I haven't seen John on a Zoom call, so maybe he hasn't." Maybe the technology doesn't work for him, but I can prioritize those folks and just see if, see what they're thinking and see if there are ways we could engage other ways,
Matt, this is Patrick. So I reached out to John Eldred about 2 weeks ago, and it's a technology thing. He appreciated the call. I offered to meet him in his driveway to get Zoom going so he could just click a link and be in, but he just doesn't want to deal with the technology.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we're going to find situations like that, and we just have to be. I think everybody's learning that individual people have different tolerances for all these all this level of change that we're being asked to engage in these days.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Matt, can I ask another question?
sure.
And that has to do, I know that Brad Peck is retiring, and in fact, June 30th, I think, was his last day at East. What do we know about going forward with the Youth Rotar program for this club? I mean, speaking of an outreach area, I mean, it can be considered our engagement with youth that way is one of our, in a sense, active service methods. But what's it look like going forward? Is Brad still going to be involved? Can we do this? Has any discussion taken place on that subject?
It hasn't, to my knowledge, yet, John, but it's on my list. I suspect Brad's had a lot on his mind I know that he has had a lot on his mind as he kind of maneuvers into retirement here. Having a daughter who just graduated from Wausau East herself, I suspect that, he's been scrambling around trying to figure out how to do graduation and everything else. I know that he has. The Youth Rotar program in that environment probably is down the priority list if I had to guess, but I'm sure, Brad's been on my list to reach out to, and that's another one I can ask that question of him and see what is he thinking. I'm curious about his continuing involvement in the club. I'm hopeful that he will continue to be involved. I know he's planning on staying around. So, but certainly it's going to come. Is October when we typically have our Youth Rotars will come faster than we think, but again, I think everybody's scrambling to figure out, what is school going to look like in all kinds of contexts next year. So. Other questions or thoughts or ideas?
Well, maybe I can take a cue from Mike, who said he's not hesitant to make a comment. Just another question, actually. Since the Youth Rotar program drives certain expenses, if we were there together and eat, has the budget for the year that you're starting been developed? And a hitchhiker on that has to do with my current, I guess I still call it interim role as chair of the scholarship committee for our club. I don't know what that's going to look like given the financial status of the budget going forward. So, and maybe to even compound my question with another comment, now we're down to just 2 members on that committee, Carl Drake and myself. Joe Vaspar has disconnected from the club for some reasons, and we hope he'll come back, but he was a member of that group. And so obviously that group would be better served by a number of you or others that are not on this call to join in if we were to continue with the scholarship activity. We do have that endowment in the foundation, which serves to provide half the funds we usually use to award scholarships. But anyway, the question is, does the club's budget look like it will support the ongoing trend that we've had of trying to fund 5? And, so those things all may have to be talked about and reshaped. But between the budget question and the volunteer support for that committee, which is, very cyclical, it takes place typically in the beginning of the calendar year through April or May. But anyway, those are the questions. A lot of them are driven by budget. Has support for youth Rotars and the scholarships been considered as you may be formulating that budget?
Yeah, so I'll try to answer those questions, John. So the first question is there's a draft budget, couple of draft budgets that are kind of circulating. We will meet next week and kind of finalize that. It's really not that complicated. It's about $30,000 of revenue, and we got to figure out a way to spend a little less than that. Now, Sean did a brilliant job this year, and we put probably $2,000 in the bank because of his stellar leadership. So, scholarships are one of those items that I think are high priority for us. And in addition to that, my view is we figure out a way to spend a little less than we bring in and continue to fund the scholarships at the level we've historically funded them at. So, that would be my vision, John. I think we've got, at the Community Foundation, we've got those funds that are designed for that purpose. And so I don't have any real concern there at this stage about our ability to continue to fund. It's 5 $1,000 scholarships is what we've done, right? And so, I think that should continue to be our goal and our expectation. And we figure out a way to make that happen. So, I think that's what, for all of us, for me at least, that's what we're doing here, is we're trying to do some good, do a little bit of good, and scholarships for kids, it doesn't get much better than that, in my view.
So just so that maybe all know, maybe some do, some don't, that about 2.5 of those 5 scholarships have been supported over the last several years by that endowment. So the club's operating expenses have had to support the other $2,500. So that's why I asked the question.
It depends on the year and what's in the fund, how much comes out of the budget. We budget traditionally, I don't know what our new budget's going to look like, but traditionally we've set aside $2,500 to meet any shortfall we would have with what's in the scholarship fund. Some years we've been lucky, we've only had to put in like maybe $1,000 or somewhere around there. Who knows, with the market, who knows what'll happen each time, but that's kind of the good news of it.
Other questions or comments or concerns, dilemmas, any of the above?
Hey, Matt, good afternoon. This is Andrew. How's it going?
Hey, Andrew. Good to see you.
You as well. So earlier, thank you very much for presenting your kind of way forward, our vision for the next year. You mentioned a potential, or at least the insistence on club events. The meetings at each other's houses for our lunch meetings on noon, our noon Monday meetings, or even a potential joint event. I had been in contact with Dave Anderson with the Wausau Early Bird Club about a potential joint event. What do you envision for that? What's kind of your intent? Where would you like to see that go? If we could team up with a another Rotary Club or, you know, like an Elks Club or something to that effect?
Yeah, so a few questions in there, Andrew, that I think I'll try to tackle. One is, I think, just within our own club, doing some purely social kinds of things. So, you know, my idea of at people who are willing to host at their homes, it wouldn't be at noon, it wouldn't be for lunch, it'd be evening drinks and hors d'oeuvres or something like that. And it's maybe it comes in lieu of a meeting. So that's one thing, and that's really an effort to just build camaraderie, build an esprit de corps around the club outside of our normal meeting structure. In addition to that, talking about doing some joint things with the Early Birds Club, I think, you know, there could be some social element of that. Dave and I have talked about that, where you know, we get together. I know they get together for a holiday party historically as a club. You know, maybe that becomes the Wausau Rotary holiday party or something like that. Or they want to keep that for themselves and we do it another time. You know, it's a grill out or, you know, a woodchucks game or any of these things. All these things that we used to do before there was this COVID thing hanging around, you know, those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about. So it's nothing specific about an event or anything like that. We do already do the President's Pantry Dinner. It's historically been called. That's a joint effort between the clubs where there's dinner and, you know, the auction, those kinds of things. You know, I think that should continue. But looking for other opportunities to build on our relationships with other Rotarians. Maybe it even expands where it's the, you know, it's the, you know, the other clubs in the area that are overseen by Pat Pillard, who's the assistant governor for the district. You know, those kinds of things are out there as possibilities. I've heard things like, you know, anytime the word beer gets thrown in there, my ears perk up. So there's I forget what one group does it. It's Suds and Buds or something, you know, that kind of thing. So there are lots of different structures that it could take, lots of different models. But you know, I just think directionally what I'm looking at is trying to look for opportunities to get together with other Rotarians that are local. We're fortunate we're not just here, you know, we're not the only club in town, so to speak. That's, I think, is a good thing, not a bad thing. So does that answer your question, Andrew? Yes? I'm getting a thumbs up. Okay.
It does. Thank you so much, Matt.
Other questions? It's one of those where it's hard to read the room hard to read the virtual room. So, well, again, I'm available. I can't promise you immediate response always, particularly to email, because I get a lot of those. But you know, text message, cell phone, call me at the office, whatever you need. I'm happy to talk about this. We'll figure this out together. But I do, I'm going to reiterate that, you know, I said this to Kelly as we talked a while back, you know, my view on leadership is some version of it takes a village. So I'm going to be looking for support and help through this, and hopefully you're on board with that concept. So thanks. If there aren't additional questions, we can end with the 4-way test. I was going to try to figure out a better way to do this where we didn't have to all speak in unison on Zoom, but for now we'll keep trying it this way, and we'll right about the time we figure it out, I'll figure out another solution. But
Hey,
are
Matt.
we ready?
Hey,
Yes,
Matt.
go ahead. Yes.
If you
Is that
permit,
John?
we'll pause in here. We haven't had a chance to maybe throw any good news up besides some of the things we've done as appreciation. But if you don't mind me mentioning, and since you mentioned what I do at the district level, I just wanted to share with enthusiasm the news that the scholar that we'd been working on to get approval from Rotary, we interviewed the person on May 2nd, and it took till July 2nd to get the formality of the Rotary grant approved. So we feel good about that. It's been amazingly complex in this era of COVID, trying to get a student from here to Rotterdam over in the Netherlands with all the travel bans and the COVID this and all the complications, trying to deal with that. But a mountain of work has led to success and at least the approval. Now we have the practicality. But anyway, good news. And we all may remember we sponsored Tracy Wilikowski back in 2014. And so it's a special thing to see one of the youth from our area take that opportunity and finally get approval to travel. So with any hope, the borders will open. But in the meantime, since she's actually, while she's a U.S. citizen, this young lady that is currently studying at Lawrence, or just graduated rather, is actually, her parents are from Jakarta, Indonesia, which is interesting. So she'll be staying there and probably virtually studying for a while until the Netherlands opens. But a lot of interesting dynamics with respect to moving forward with that individual's approval. So good news, at least something I'd like to throw $5 in if I'm not out of order doing a happy dollar kind of a thing. I know Deb's got her pencil out. I've got my own little ledger here too, Deb. I hope it matches yours on the number of happy dollars I owe.
Well, thanks, John. That is good news. And you know, you've identified, I've already screwed up this roll. I've skipped the whole happy dollar and sad dollar thing. So that will not be the first time that I drop the ball as the leader this year. But we can certainly spend a couple minutes trying to identify happy dollars and sad dollars. And then I will say, I made my first executive decision, and I told Joanne to go ahead and add people's happy dollars to their invoice, a quarterly invoice. So when you see it, hopefully it does match with your own records. And for those of you who are more ambitious in a virtual environment because you thought it wasn't ever going to come home to roost, you don't know Joanne.
I'm sending her the list tonight. So.
All right, good deal. So, anyone else have happy or sad dollars to share? Patrick's got one.
I've got a happy dollars. So our family has traditionally been having a family reunion around the July 4 weekend. So this weekend was the first time in 36 years that we have not been able to have a family reunion. So we did a virtual family reunion, and we had callers. So we did a Zoom call, and we had callers from 6 different countries and 8 different states, and it was a lot of fun.
That's good. Patrick, did everyone have Bass Lake in the background? Because that's where you probably had your reunion in the first place, isn't it?
That is where we had the reunion.
Other happy dollars or sad dollars? Happy dollars, maybe we'll focus there.
I guess I'll throw in a happy dollar. As of this morning, Kevin, I signed the paperwork. We bought a cottage.
All right.
Yeah.
Say, I'd like to throw in a sad dollar. I don't know if any of you are aware, but John Jones, who was an executive with Wausau Insurance and Nationwide, he passed away last week.
Oh.
Maybe one more for me as a positive. I'd like to shout out to Andrew, who's doing a bang-up job organizing programs, and it's been a joy to work with them. Thanks for your effort, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Hi, John. Yeah, anytime, man. It's my pleasure.
Okay. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Sold. All right. Any other comments for the good of the order? Okay, we'll try again on this 4-way test. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Of the things
we think,
say,
say or
or
do.
Is it
Is
the
it the
truth?
truth?
Is it
Is
Is it
fair?
fair to all concerned?
Will it
Will it build
goodwill,
goodwill
and
better friendships?
Will
Will
it be
beneficial?
beneficial to all
All
concerned?
concerned.
All right. I think we'll figure out another way to do this. I'll probably, in law school they have this thing called the Socratic method where they just call on you and you have to be prepared. So I think that's what I may do is I'm just going to assign somebody randomly at the end of the meeting with the 4-way test. That may be a better approach. But so anyway,
I like
thanks
it.
everybody. We'll see you
Thank you.
see you in a week. Take
Thanks,
care.
Matt.